Hi, and welcome to the Magnificent 24 show. I'm your host, Jonny Alexander. Welcome everyone back. We've got a full show this week. We've been away for 2 weeks now. Basically just covering, we want to cover the Bayern Munich game, obviously the Burnley game, and we'll talk about injuries and the current squad situations. So further ado, I want to welcome our guest speakers today and regular hosts, Neil, Xander, Greg, and Devin. So if everyone, please introduce yourself. Well, most everyone knows you from Twitter Spaces anyway. So I want to go straight in. Apologies, guys. I want to go straight into things. And one of the things I want to go straight into is basically the Bayern Munich game. So I'm going to go straight over to Devin and find out his thoughts on what he felt was good positives within that game.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to look for any positives when you lose like that. Downside is that we showed that we could score 4 goals away from home. Sorry, that was the good side of it. The downside is that we also conceded, I think, 2 very bad first half goals. I think we had a little bit that mistake from Onana at first. Well, I mean, the team is kind of rallying behind him, but then it was their mentality changed and they instantly conceded a second goal. That was something that is a concern of mine, the mentality with this team. They started to rally back better in the second half as well, but once again, mentality. They score a goal, and that's usually one of the most vulnerable times to concede as well. And they did it twice in the second half. So I was definitely a little bit disappointed with that, but it showed that we could score goals. I didn't realize Casemiro decided to bring his shooting boots that day. So whatever he did that day, he needs to continue doing that. Or whatever superstition, however he laced his boots that day, needs to continue that. I don't want to go too much into the match yesterday because I think we're going to cover that later on. But all I'll say on that is I was glad to see the response that we did.
Okay, so with the Bayern Munich game, obviously everyone here watched the game. What did you think of the starting lineup? Where did you think we went? What were the positives from that starting lineup? Go to Xander.
I thought the positives were in that Bayern game was how we responded after conceding it, and you would look at that game and there's a lot of positives you can take away from it. With any game of football, there's negatives and positives, but I personally think, going to the Allianz Arena, which Bayern haven't lost it in the Champions League in 36 something games, which was always going to be a tough. So no matter how anyone looks at it, and you look at that squad, you can't go and say we're going to go out there and get a draw. I thought we would be lucky to get a draw, so I'm not surprised that we lost that game. But I look at that lineup and I thought Palestri did really well. In that first half, we had some really good couple of chances where you look at it and maybe go on a different day. We take them, we go 1-0 up the game. That's a whole. Then we might be sitting here talking about a whole different result. So that's the way I look at it, is where you look at it and go, well, we had positives, negatives, and I thought a lot of that team did really well. I thought Martial, when he came on in that role, did really well, in my opinion. Thought, you know what, he was doing his job, know what he was doing. So, and like Devin said, Casemiro bought his shooting boots and Højlund got his first goal, which is, good for anyone, but, a lot of negatives as well. But I take a lot more positives out of that game, Jody, than I do negatives. And no matter any way you look at it, it is a bit 50-50 in my opinion. So.
Okay, I want to bring this question obviously to Greg. I mean, there's a lot of the game obviously took place on Wednesday. We're now on Sunday. And there's been a lot of stuff said in the social media and in media outlets regarding Christian Eriksen inclusion into that game. How did you think Christian Eriksen fared into that game against Bayern Munich? Greg, I'm struggling to hear you.
I think you're on mute, Greg.
Very quiet, Greg. I think it may be your mic.
Yeah, it could be that. As always with technology, that happens nowadays.
You know the funny thing, we were backstage a minute ago and hearing him absolutely perfect.
You know what it might be? You can press touch to hear. He may have not done that. I'm not too sure. Just someone drop a message in the chat.
Yeah.
It's something.
If you're there, can you have a look at Greg's audio?
But so sorry. What I guess Neil, you can answer Greg's question while we try to get that fixed. Just keep the show moving for now.
Oh well, what was the question for Greg? Sorry.
We were talking about, for instance, the highlights and positives of Christian Eriksen playing, and how do you think Ten Hag coped with having him into the game against Bayern Munich? Do you think he should have started? Do you think his inclusion was good, or do you think yet again it cost us another game?
I'm just going to look at it from a holistic point of view when it comes to Christian Eriksen, because I believe he's a player, a really good player, not to take anything away from him, but he's extremely good in the number 10 role. Forcing him to play in a position with, considering the condition that he currently has with the whole pacemaker, he's a brilliant player, don't get me wrong, but he just hasn't got the legs. And he's one player we should be bringing on off the bench to bring calmness to a game and control the game. Yes, he kind of reminds me of a Juan Mata-esque type of player. We used to bring on Mata to calm things down, string a few passes through. And that's the type of player he is. So I honestly think we should have, from the experience point of it, I get it. I get why Ten Hag went with that decision. But if we're going legs for legs, we should have honestly started someone younger like Dangor or someone to, have some legs in that midfield against Bayern, in my opinion. However, I was just going to add to the point that back off the Bayern Munich result, I mean, unlucky we didn't get the win, but the positive, like we've all been mentioning, is I think the positive and what people didn't really see, in my opinion, is the fact that what were we talking about all day on Spaces, Jody, is the motivation. Yeah. Something stank in that dressing room about motivation. And I hope this is a leaf turn, only because these players went to Manchester Platz, right? And I hope each and every single one of them players got to see physically what this club was built off on. Like, I hope they saw that there have been players that have actually
physically died for the club.
Yeah, have physically died for the club. That badge is etched in the blood of Busby Babes.
Yeah, it's true.
And if that is not enough to light a fire up their asses and kick them into gear, then I don't know what is. They don't deserve to play for the badge, in my opinion. So let's see now. Let's see if that motivation has come back in the next few games. And with the Burnley result, we're going to get onto. So, that's what I think the Bayern Munich game was. It was a big motivation for all of those players. And if that's not going to give you enough motivation, then I'm sorry, you don't have to play for the club. Simple as that.
I want to stay on the Bayern Munich thing because I wanted to break down a few things. Obviously, I felt the midfield got overrun. If we're being very, very honest, the midfield did get overrun. I felt that I think this partnership between... Still no mic? No, still no mic.
No, so no bueno. No good, Greg.
Oh, man. Did you leave? Try leaving and coming back.
Has he joined on the phone?
Yeah, I think he's going to leave and come back in. So I will say the midfield got completely overrun. It was absolutely destroyed. That midfield was absolutely destroyed. And then I think the problems I'm having right now is the midfield is always going to get overrun when you play Christian Eriksen next to Casemiro. We'll touch when he did change it and he brought Scott McTominay on. I was even more disappointed. You're talking a guy who comes on the 69th minute and the ref outruns him in the 79th minute. It was very embarrassing to say the least. But one thing I will say, two of the midfielders showed a lot of heart in terms of Casemiro and Bruno to try to pull a result back into that one. We are actually joined finally by our by Chase. So Chase, welcome. We're touching base on the Bayern Munich game, and we were talking about Christian Eriksen obviously being included into that midfield. We felt we were overrunning midfield. How did you make the performance of the starting lineup? Were you happy with Pellistri? What changes did you want to see him for that game, and what do you think could have been better? We're just talking about Bayern Munich, by the way.
Bayern Munich, I really liked the fact that I liked the lineup. I liked Pellistri in there. I think we could have. I think we could have started at least Hannibal. I think we could have started at least Hannibal in that match. I think I like Ericsson. I love Ericsson. I mean, on the ball, he's a magician. Really is in that final third. But the fact that you have to put him in a position where he has to defend with no legs kills us. 100% kills us every time. I would specifically switch him and Bruno. I would switch him and Bruno. I thought we held ourselves well against Bayern Munich. You go into the Allianz Arena, you don't know what you're going to get. You can get an 8-5 or an 8-0 slashing. And
I think, to be honest, I watched this game and this team was not impressive. I expected more from them. And I think Man United, even with a mediocre performance, matched them. People say, oh, it was a training game for Bayern. They could have hit 7 or 8. I actually don't think they could have. I think they're slowly growing into this game. I think you take out all Man United's current injuries, you put a full team of Man United at Ten Hag's disposal. I don't think Man United lose that game.
I have to say, I think that we were very lucky that Bayern was very rusty. I think if we had played them later on in the season, like towards match day 6 in Champions League, things like that, once Bayern started getting the groove, it could have been worse. But that's also, then again, by then we also may have had some of our off the field issues resolved and injuries coming back. But I can tell you that if it was later on, we had the squad and the available players that we had last week, that scoreline, I believe, would have been worse.
Yeah.
To be fair to that one, though, the only 2 people that were dangerous that I looked at Bayern Munich was Sane and Musiala. Those were the only 2 that looked dangerous to me.
Greg, are you back?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's a miracle.
All right. I'm glad that we've resolved this issue. So, yes, let's continue. Don't mind me.
What's with the mic?
I think that's as good
Yeah,
as we're going to get.
that's the only way I can do this right now. It works. Let's just run with it for now. I got no choice.
You're not going to live us down. We were talking about the Man United Bayern Munich game and I've been overrunning the midfield, the best lineup selection. We're talking about the lineup selection. We're talking about was the midfield right? Did you think we started well? How did we play? Obviously, I thought we played well up until the mistake by Onana, but that happened, to be fair. We've seen it happen to many of goalkeepers at Man United, whether it's David De Gea, Peter Schmeichel, Edwin van der Sar. Sometimes people have very short memories of when this stuff happens to great goalkeepers.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen this happen to Peter Schmeichel, and he was one of the greats. My question to you, obviously, because I couldn't get to you earlier, where did United go? Where do you think they went wrong against Bayern? Or do you think they got the tactics initially right?
Honestly, I mean, this has been a bit of a recurring theme with us for like the last 3 games. The first 20 minutes in each of these matches has been a situation where we've shown a sense of dominance, that we look like we're going to do something productive with the ball. But because we may not necessarily get a breakthrough, frustration seems to set in very quickly, and then that just allows the other team to grow, and we tend to concede a goal around that time. That is exactly what happened at Bayern Munich, and that is a place where you cannot afford to switch off. Because the kind of players that they have, the likes of Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, Thomas Muller, Jamal Musiala, those guys will punish you on a good day. And as you can see, Onana making that mistake may have made heads drop a little bit, but they still showed that semblance of fight to be able to concede, to get the 3 goals, make that game a lot closer as possible. In the end, I think it's a matter of being able to be consistent, to show the same measure of energy from minute 1 to 90, and to basically just kind of keep your concentration throughout most of that game. That's where Bayern Munich has to speak, because they're a very well-drilled team, and most of those players, no one can really afford to drop off because they're going to get something. They're going to get either a talking to, or they may not see the next game. And I think Ten Hag is trying to instill that level of ruthlessness with Manchester United. And I know Jody's laughing right now because he can't believe I still have this mic in my hand. But like I said,
and Neil knows what I'm laughing at as well, and it's the worst part right now because we're both laughing at the same.
Oh Lord. Okay, all right. Well, that's an inside joke. If I could just touch on the Christian Eriksen thing for a moment, I think with Christian Eriksen, we know what he brings to the team. We know that he's a quality passer. He's good at linking the plays together. But as regards asking him to press, he's not a presser. He's not the kind of person that you're going to see put pressure on an opposing player to get the ball off of them. He's more that kind of player you need if you want to play a more possession-based game. He'd be able to link the plays a lot better. To ask him to put pressure on someone, to ask him to put in a tackle, that's not his thing. You can't ask Christian Eriksen to go and make a lung-busting run and go back and pull a tackle out before somebody decides to get a clean run at goal. Bruno would do that. Casemiro would do that. Martinez would do that. Those are the kind of players that have that in their game. Christian, the minute he realizes that you've got a head start on him, he's not going to be able to commit to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, just to remember as well, the man is a pacemaker, man. Like, we can't expect him to be pressing.
Exactly.
It's true. He does.
Throughout the whole game.
But then again, so does Daley Blind, but he's willing to track back at times too.
Yeah.
Christian Eriksen's always had this problem where he's never ever been that type of player. He's always been more of a player.
Number 10.
He's amazing on the ball, and you have players around him that did that work. Now I want to go into
that signing him, but they're expecting him to be something different, that's where I have an issue.
So I want to go into our next game, which was obviously Burnley yesterday. And obviously, Neil, if you could just run me through the lineups for yesterday and see what you think. Run us through the lineups.
The lineups.
Okay, sorry, I'll read it out quickly.
Yeah,
we had Onana in goal, Reguilon at left back, Jonny Evans, Victor Lindelof, and Diego Dalot. Then we had a midfield four. And from the looks of things, it looked like it almost played in a diamond, then switched to a 4-2-2-2. Then off the ball, it went to a 4-2-3-1, which I thought was brilliant. So it depends what you're looking at. So we had a midfield four, technically of Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Hannibal, and Scott McTominay. And then the two strikers were obviously Marcus Rashford and Højlund. What did everyone make of the starting lineup? Because I know where everyone's going to be happy right now with that starting lineup with one person right there. Devin, I know you've got to go in a second, so I want to hear your thoughts first and foremost.
All right, yeah. So I was definitely a little bit shocked when I saw Jonny Evans included on that. I know I probably was not the only one who thought so, but I can tell you, he proved me wrong. And I have to admit where I was wrong, because my first thought was, oh God, last time we saw him like in a starting 11, he got relegated. And with his age, I thought, oh God, this is gonna be bad. What a difference he made. What a difference he made. The man played a pass that I respect Bruno Fernandes to make to score for that assist. However, I still argue that his goal should have counted. If you're going to count the Man City goal from a couple weeks ago, that goal should have counted. That's probably a discussion we might get into a little bit later on. Hannibal,
for another day.
I thought was absolutely brilliant. That is what I want to see when I see a youngster coming in. Take your chance. Do it well. Disappointed. I was a little bit disappointed with the effort that I saw from McTominay and Rashford. I don't know what is going on with Marcus Rashford. At first, I was thinking, I don't know if it was a tactic thing that's in Hack wanting him to save his legs or what. I can't figure it out. And just to pour salt in the wound, unfortunately, yesterday, he even got into an accident after the game. So I hope whatever is going on in his life right now, that he gets sorted out and gets back to the player that we know that he can be. And I think the only reason why we're so hard on him, especially over everybody else, is because we all know what he's capable of, and he's nowhere near it right now. Something is going on, and it needs to get resolved to get him back to where he was. But above all else, it was not a beautiful game, I guess you could say. But you know what? Sometimes you got to win ugly. Sometimes smash and grab is all that you need, because we were in a funk. We needed to get out of it, and what better place to do it than get 3 points away from home?
Okay, brilliant. Xander, let's get your take on Burnley.
Yeah, I watched the game yesterday. With the lineup, Jody, I think I was concerned that, because we might, are we going to miss Martinez? You got Evans in there and Lindelof, and we all know that with his age, will his age play up? And I was concerned going into that game, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, this might be a long night if things go wrong. And it started to look like that. And then we got the corner with, when Evans scored that goal and it was offside. And then we get the goal. and we're 1-0 up. And then I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's go on a bit. It wasn't a brilliant game, like Devin said. It wasn't the best game of football to see, but I think at the end of the day, we got the result. We got the 1-0, we got the 3 points that we needed, and I personally feel like that's going to give us confidence to Onana, especially keeping a clean sheet, going to boost his confidence, and it's going to boost everyone else's confidence. With Rashford, I don't think that he's doing anything wrong right now, because if he was, I personally think Ten Hag would have dropped him, because he took the captain's armband off of Maguire, gave it to Fernandes, got rid of Ronaldo. That's the way I look at it. Is he's doing everything that I think Rashford doing everything that Ten Hag wants him to. And I thought yesterday that he was looking for that extra pass. He was looking to make that pass, and when you look at that game, you go and watch it back, and you look at it, and then you go, Rashford was trying to find that pass. He was trying to find that ball into it, and I think it's just, I think he is trying too hard a little bit. I think Jody, when you play football, when you try too hard, it just doesn't come easy to you. You overthink. Yeah, it's too forced. You overthink, and then you don't know how to do the simple fundamentals of football. Which, at the end of the day, I think Rashford has trying to be doing that a lot. Where I think when you see it, when you simplify it and you don't overthink and you let the game come naturally to you, you let everything else come naturally to you, you're going to get the best version of yourself. And I think a lot of players in that United team needs to start realizing that. Don't overthink every second ball. Don't overthink every first ball. If you need to take a couple of touches, yeah, fine, do it. Don't always get that one pass, take one touch and then pass off, because it might not work. Where just let everything come naturally to you, and we all know when Rashford, I personally think if he switches up his game, let defenders soak onto him and then he can go bam, because we all know what Rashford's like. I think he has to do that, and I thought he did okay. I thought the team did okay, but I do want to see a lot more. I am not going to sit here and go, Jody, I want to see Rashford what he did last season. I personally think that the question I would have to you and to everyone else is, do you think Rashford has got in his head that he's the only way that this team can score goals? Do you think he's trying to live up to that build and get that? And I personally feel that that's what he's trying to do, and it ain't just working anymore.
I think it's a case right now. I'm going to have to credit Jonny FX with this, because I think he said something a while back when it came to Rashford and Bruno. He says a lot about them. And one of the things that he has said, you're not going to win titles with Rashford and Bruno trying to constantly be the superstars of the team. And he made a couple of points which I didn't agree with, but that particular point stuck, because at some point you've got to trust your teammates around you and use your teammates. And I was watching back the game yesterday. There was one shot he took on which he could have passed, and he didn't. And I felt Bruno Fernandes didn't hit the Hollywood ball, but he could have played a bit more simple, in all honesty. So Jonny has a point in what he's saying, but then you have to look at the team and realize, since Bruno Fernandes has come into the team since 2020 to now, he's practically carrying the team. Yeah. Rashford carried that team last season. And yes, Højlund's come in, but Højlund's only been in 5 minutes. With all due respect, he's only been in 5 minutes, and he will find his feet. So until he finds his feet, Rashford is still trying to have to carry the team. Yeah. I do think when Rashford finds his feet, not Rashford, so when Højlund finds his feet, I think Rashford's game may improve. But until then, we're just going to be seeing the same thing over and over until you have a fit squad. And we will not have a fully fit squad at this rate, based upon no one else getting injured and everyone being back till December at the earliest.
Yeah, and we can't be doing that, as we all know. And I personally think that, and then we'll go to Chase or whoever you want to go to, Neil, Jody, after what I'm going to say is, I think people need to give the time to Rashford and Højlund and whoever's on that right wing, is because the three of them, like you said, Hoyland only came in this season. We've not had a number 9. Do you remember since 2019-20 when it was Martial and Rashford and they were playing brilliant football? Do you know that one season where they were playing really well? Yeah, and we all said Rashford plays much better.
Ronaldo thing.
Yeah, and I always said Rashford plays much better with a number 9 up there that knows what he does because he can lay off that pass and he can do what he needs to do. And I think you give Rashford and Hoyland that lifetime, we're going to see a whole different Rashford. And I think you'll see his game improve because they will find each other's runs a lot better. They will get the confidence better. And then it's that final piece to that project. You've got the goalkeeper. You've got that new. Do you know what I mean? You've got all these pieces in the midfield. The one thing you missed was the number 9.
I want to move on to Neil to find out his point of views on this. And see what his thoughts were with the Burnley game. What he felt was good, what he liked, what he disliked, what he thought on the starting lineup, and where to improve.
Very interesting starting lineup, I must say. I mean, Jonny Evans, he's the example of what like an aged fine wine, can do.
He rolled back the years like
he
Laurent
did.
Blanc.
He did, honestly. And one thing that, if anyone noticed in the game, Jonny Evans has a voice. This guy was shouting at players and, commanding his position properly. That's something, we've lacked since, Leach has come into the squad. Yeah. So to be fair, I'd like to see him and Leach start a game. I think that'd be really interesting. But anyways, concerning the result, 1-0 win, clean sheet. Can't complain, like Xander said. Onana got his clean sheet. It's going to do a great confidence boost for him, and hopefully in the next games he can replicate the performance. But now, just touching on the Rashford topic a bit, I'm not going to say too much anyway, but let's just all remember as well. Now, forget Rashford for a minute, because it's not about players, for me anyway. It's about the manager and the way the manager wants to play. Ralph Rangnick said this: it needs to be in the brains and veins of your players. It needs to replicate what the manager does, and what idea the manager has, and it needs to be deployed on the pitch. So if we look back at Ajax, Ten Hag's Ajax squad, right? Have you seen how they attack? It is literally pass until the final third. Whoever's open, tap it in the net. Pretty much. And that's the way. And maybe with a bit of tweaking with the pressing, because the Premier League itself is a high pressing league. Like now anyway, it's developed. So if we sort of roll it back to Ten Hag at Ajax, just to say, for example, what he's trying to do with this United squad is to obviously create chances like his Ajax team. And these players need to understand the fact that it's not about individualism anymore. It's not about who can be Robin Hood today. Last season, Rashford was our top goal scorer. But now he needs to realize, and he needs to humble himself in a way, and so do some other players, and come to the reality that it is not about individualism anymore. The key word is team, right? And working as a team to break down defenses and working as a team to score these goals, there's nothing wrong with it because the best teams in the world do it. You look at and I hate to use them as prime examples, but Liverpool, your Man Cities, it's not just one person just getting all the goals. Why can't they wake up and see that, it's not about being an individual. It's football. It's a team game, Sure. If you look at the philosophy that Ten Hag has tried to bring, he wants everyone contributing towards the goals, everyone contributing, in the defense and the attack. So that's just my outlook on it, is that once Hoyland as well, for example, now we have a striker. Look how long we've suffered without a proper striker. Now we have one. I hope Rashford can get his head up more and see.
This isn't just a Rashford problem. I watched the game back yesterday.
Yeah.
This seems to be a Rashford-Hoyland problem.
Yeah.
Not because they're a problem playing to each other.
Yeah.
The problem is when either pick up the ball,
they're
only looking for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
And it's one thing I noticed yesterday. Rashford lost the ball 12 times yesterday.
right, so
Hoyland lost the ball 10 times yesterday. And
yeah,
half the times they lost the ball is because they were looking
Yeah.
just for each other.
so what needs to happen now? Because we went for the what was it, a 4-1-2-1-2 diamond sort of setup that Ten Hag went
Yeah.
for, right? Now in that diamond, what's the key there? It's a flipping diamond. You create triangles. If you can't find your man, if you can't find the striker, play a pass back to the number 10. Bruno was
Exactly.
there. Find him. He's your pivot. Create pivots around the all over the pitch. That's what it's about. Playing football. You
Well,
know.
we've heard Rashford came out and said that him and Hoyland have been spending time off the pitch together and they've been working together.
No, but it shouldn't be that. It should be the whole team. It should be drills. What do you think the rondo's for? What's the rondo for, Jody, in training?
Exactly.
Five-a-side. Like, these things need to be played.
It seems like Rashford genuinely likes playing with Hoyland. You could see it.
Yeah.
You could see it because he went up for a header and normally he would head that a goal, but he's headed across looking for Hoyland.
Yeah. So
Hoyland threw on goal, but instead of him driving and shooting, he's looking for Rashford. And I'm like,
it can.
Stop.
It can
Bruno
work out.
Free on the right.
Do you think Ten Hag will might have picked up on that and might say to them to listen? I get you two love playing with each other, but if you can't find each other and I don't want you losing the ball, I want you to pass it back to your Fernandes, look for each other and create the pivots like Neil's mentioned. These need to get picked up on in training.
I want to take that question you just asked, Xander, to Greg and see what his thoughts are. And I want to get Chase involved in that question because I think it's a really good question. How do you get the team to play as a team in that Burnley game? Because there was positives in it.
Yeah. I think it's down to basically the scenarios that are put in place. You saw the difference between how Burnley played against us compared to how we were running at them.
Greg, you're very
more of the chemistry that was basically. How about now?
A little better.
All right. So the whole thing is that you look at the way Burnley played us compared to the way that we played them.
Greg,
there was more chemistry.
Greg, we
what?
It's gone,
crazy.
bro.
It's crazy.
Are you serious right now?
Go to your phone.
Yeah, switch to your phone, mate.
Now. All right, hold on.
Chase, answer it while Greg's fixing audio.
Yeah. I think also what we're missing, the balance of this squad to really get things going for me, and I'll keep saying it, I've said it for a long time now, is Anthony. A lot of people want to say he's not doing this, he's not doing that. But Anthony brings a lot of balance to this squad that can get everybody playing well. When you put, I think Rashford and Hoyland will find their way eventually. I saw a lot of snippets in that game yesterday where Hoyland would make his runs. And what was frustrating me, probably a couple minutes in the first half, was Rashford not picking his head up when Hoyland would make some of his runs. Or by the time he lifted his head up, he had three Burnley shirts in front of him. And then I saw in the second half, he started to pick it up a little bit. He started to pick up his head, make some smart moves with the ball. Reguilon was making overlap runs. I think there'll be time. I think it just needs to take more time for this squad to gel, especially the likes of Bruno, Rashford, Eriksen, so on and so forth. This squad has not had a fox in the box.
Yeah.
No, they haven't.
Oh, because at that point.
So when you have a fox in the box and you're not used to having a top level striker like Hoyland, even though he's young, he's a fox in the box. It's a natural number 9 fox in the box. And when you don't have someone like that for years, you start to get tunnel vision. You start to develop that. You have that tunnel vision. So, Rashford's instinct first instinct is, all right, I need to go and goal. I need to take it. And basically his tunnel vision, Bruno's tunnel vision of, I'm just going to get the ball and I'm going to bang it out. And I'm going to throw the wonder ball.
That's better, Greg.
Yeah, much
Right.
more fair. Go on, Greg.
Yeah. Chase took the words right out of my mouth. And honestly, you could see it's basically a symptom of that.
What
Marcus
were you
Rashford
playing
has
around
not.
with that you couldn't go with that audio the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't freaking
Hang
know.
Were you playing around with mics?
Yo, bro, that might look like it was
Somewhat.
a children's food or something, bro.
Yo, that is my karaoke microphone. Do not hit on that. I make a lot of money on TikTok with that. Anyhow, anyway. So basically, what I want to kind of pick back off of Chase's point, the fact that they have not played with a natural number 9 for God knows how long has been a bit of a handicap. I think the last natural number 9 we had was Zlatan. So honestly, you look at that and you look at the nature of the runs that Rasmus is trying to make. Well, I mean, Cavani. My bad, Cavani. But you look at the nature of the runs that Højlund is trying to make, and the fact that he is a very physical player. It's beneficial to everybody in the long run because you have someone who's able to hold up, you have someone who's not afraid to drive at defenders, and you've got someone who's willing to throw his body about if it means he can get a glancing header, a toe poke, someone who's willing to take the risk, someone who's young enough to be able to know, okay, I can adjust and I can do these different things. It helps them, and Rashford needs time to adapt to that, to recognize, hey, Rasmus is right there, give him the option. Bruno's right there, give him the option. This is someone, like Jody has said, has literally had to carry this team on his back in a lot of instances, and we saw the effects of that during the 2019-20 season. Went down with an ankle injury, went down with a back problem, and we almost lost him for the remainder of that season. COVID came in and we got him back for a while. But we have to recognize that with any sort of chemistry, it takes time to build it. It takes time for it to grow. It takes time for it to become something where everybody has an accustomed idea. Like, okay, I know Højlund's going to be there. I know Garnacho's probably going to make a run. I know Reguilon's coming in from behind me to get an overlap. Those are things that come with time and with the games that these teams can play. If Ten Hag could have a core group of those men available, God forbid these injuries don't come back to haunt us later on, we should be able to see a much more fully flowing Manchester United squad.
And you know what? I'm really gutted. I'm gutted for Reguilon, man. I really am. With pulling his hammy. I mean, you could just see these last 2 games. This kid is giving it his all.
Was it his hamstring? Because I know Ten Hag said he was ill.
I think it was the illness. It wasn't a hamstring case. I think
you could see at the end of the play before he was coming off. He was grabbing the back of his hamstring. You could see him grabbing.
Okay.
It could have just been tight. I mean, he has had no preseason.
Maybe.
I mean, the way he was grabbing it, I said instantly, "Oh my god, I hope it's not a hammy," because he was grabbing.
He didn't limp off, which is more. If he would limp.
Well, yeah, that's what I was not going to say. If he did, once he didn't limp off, I think he should be fine.
If he,
probably felt it.
I just hope it's not. I just hope it's not as bad as I thought.
So as we're talking about squad, as we're talking about now, I want to move on to squad and injuries because we know we've had squad and injury problems right now. I'll run through our list of injured players right now. I know Heaton's back in training. Obviously, we'll look at the fullback situation. We know we have.
I got it up, Jody. If you want me to, I could go through the full list right now.
I've got it. I'm just going to run through it, and then you guys touch upon it, see what you think. Luke Shaw and
All right, cool.
Luke Shaw is muscle atrophy. Malacia is unknown, but Sky Sports have reported yesterday it's knee, but every other outlet is saying an unknown. So I want to know what knee injury he has or what unknown injury he has. Then you've got Martinez. We've got, what's his name? Martinez Maguire, who's out. We saw Varane come back yesterday. We've seen Lindelof, we know, carrying a slight knock. Jonny Evans looked exhausted, so we know he's probably just fatigued. You've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's fully out for this, fully out till the end of November with a torn hamstring, grade 1 tear or grade 2 tear, I believe, on his hammies. So he's out for a while. Then you go into the midfield and the forward line. Now, I want to go straight to the forward line before I go into midfield because it looks like the midfield injuries are coming back. Forward line, we have 2 players out on disciplinary injuries in the same position. Now, when you go to the midfield, well, technically 3. 3 players not at the club who's on the contract of Manchester United, all out through disciplinary injuries because of behaviour injuries, all in the same position. Then you're looking at midfield. We know Mason Mount is training. We've seen Amrabat back. Kobe Mainoo's training. Dan Gore's there. We've seen Hannibal there. And we're seeing a full complement of the midfield coming back. So we've got around... And Donny van der Beek is back as well. We saw him on the squad against Burnley. So we're looking a good full complement of 8 to 9 midfielders for the next 3-4 months where we've got a hectic schedule. So going to the squad and the injuries, what are you guys thinking? Or what do you think should be... Who do you see coming in? Who do you see fighting for what I call a starting 20 spot? And what does that mean for the squad over the next few months?
I see a lot of these young ones. I see Kobe Manu coming back, fighting for a top spot. I mean, we can see this kid's got something special in him. We can see that 100%. I see, from what I'm seeing from Hannibal, I think he's gonna fight for it. We have a tough one in the midfield because we have so many coming through. We have so many young ones coming through. You got Gore, Hannibal, Kobe Manu, that are going to challenge the likes of Eriksen. I mean, they could even challenge Bruno. I mean, I think this is what we've been missing in the midfield is, I mean, just through the whole squad is fight. Your spot is not 100%. And it should never be 100%. You should be fighting for your spot at all times.
I want to know. Sorry, Chris. But
Go on, Zane.
I look at the injury list and I look at some of the problems we have now, and I look at Kobe Mainoo's going to come back, Hannibal, and all that. We've got all these youngsters that, we're going to fight for a spot. But I want to know why a lot of these youngsters get it more than a lot of these first teamers in my eyes. They don't understand. They always give 110%, these youngsters do. Whereas look at some first teamers and they don't do it. They don't give that 110% that you want day in, day out. And I want every player on that team that plays for United to leave that pitch sweating, tired, and do you know what I mean? And they don't know that, because there's a saying, if you don't leave a boxing ring or a football pitch tired and you've still got energy, as you've not done something right at the end of the day. And I feel like a lot of these youngsters get it more than the first teamers. So I would, if you want to look at it and go, this is the way I'm looking at it, is I would start the Kobe Mainoo's when he comes back and your Hannibals and your Palestris over certain players, just so they can get that and go, this is what's going to happen if you don't give me the performance that I want you to do. That's the way I look at this squad problems. Injuries happens at any football club, Jody. You get these injury crises a lot, but we get them a lot more than others. And you have to blame that on, do we not look into a lot of these players' medical backgrounds a lot? Or that's the way I look at it. I think Ten Hag will know that. But, it happens at any football club. But like you said, we've got a lot of our first teamers out that you would expect to start right now.
Well, Gareth Driscoll started work on Monday gone.
Yeah, we've got that doctor coming in, but
Gareth Driscoll started work.
Yeah, so
hopefully he changes
and
things.
you always have to look at it. Sorry, Chess, is we're going to get a lot of our first teamers back by December. Did you say, Jody? So we're missing a lot of these players now that we need to pick up the points now, because we're going to get into the
midfield back. The major two right now. The major two right now is obviously the 3 fullbacks, which is the Malaysia, Shaw, and obviously Aaron Wan-Bissaka. You look in November, December.
My fear is how much longer can we push Shaw? That is my fear in this. And I mean, to be completely honest and fair to Shaw, I mean, he's lucky to even be walking, let alone playing again with that injury. I mean, some people that have that injury never recuperate the way he did. It's amazing that he's been able to come back. But my fear is, how much longer can we push him?
It's so true. Greg, what's your thoughts?
More or less, I think if we're going to take any precautions, the coming cup games, rotation is necessary because we cannot go out there and put a bunch of players who probably just played a Champions League game, then a Premier League game, and then put them in a Carabao Cup match. So I would like to see more of Hannibal, more of Mainu, more of Malacia or whosoever we put in the left back spot. Give more of these youngsters opportunities. Give more of the French players opportunities to be able to say, all right, you know what, I'm going to fight for a spot. Palestri needs more games for me because I think he has an opportunity to lock down that right wing spot with the departures temporarily of Jadon Sancho.
It's Masood absolutely agree with you. As Masood's actually agreeing with you yesterday. Hopefully Gary O'Driscoll in the job finally will make a difference. He was on the bench yesterday. That's actually, to be fair, it's brilliant. We get all these players back. It's going to be a lot better.
Jody, do you think he will make a difference, or do you think he's
I
that
actually think there's one more problem left at Manchester United. You fixed the head of sports medicine. I think there's one more problem left at Manchester United, which is the fitness coach. For me, Paolo Gardini needs to go. I think since his reign since 2018, since 2018 to 2023, in 5 years, we've seen more injuries at Manchester United than we've ever previously had. That tells me the fitness is an issue, which also goes down to nutrition and stuff like that. Ten Hag has fixed the nutrition because we've seen Luke Shaw, how much weight he's lost and how much things he's gained. But the fact is the fitness coach doing the right things and over pushing certain players and not looking at their body types, whether it's endomorph, ectomorph, and pushing them too much, and they're getting injured more. And this has been going on. He's been there since 2018, so this has to fall. Apart from medical team, you have to look at the fitness coach as well.
Yeah, but because at the end of the day, you can, you as a fitness coach we don't know how much more fitness we could get out of these players, because if you're looking at it and the injuries are we pushing these players to the limits that you need to push them? Are we getting the capabilities out of them? Because I don't think we are when it comes to fitness. I don't think we're getting that. So you look at that last 5 years when he, I don't know how to pronounce his name, came in, since 2018 to now.
I think this last season also was the first season Man United players played that amount of games in a while.
Yeah, and also the World Cup and all that played into a factor. So that might be another reason why we got a lot of injuries, Jody, because we might not have been the only club. I think you've seen it last season where that World Cup and that in December was, we all know normally December is that business, where everything's crammed in because they're trying to get so many games in before the holidays and all that. So you will get the injuries. But we had that World Cup, and your players are going to get fatigued. And when you get fatigued, you're more likely to get more injuries. I think you know that, Jody, is your body gets fatigued, you're more vulnerable to picking up injuries because you've not been getting that rest period. I don't think you got that with the World Cup. So I think a lot of the bodies are trying to still adapt to having do you know what I mean? So we just have to wait and see.
It basically goes back to what Rafael Varane said a little while back. The scheduling is ridiculous now. So you have players there who are playing too many games because you have the cup matches, then you have the international duties, be it friendlies, be it the Nations League, be it qualifiers for Euros or World Cup respectively. That's a lot of football. And the human body can take only so much after a while. There's only so much conditioning. There's only so much how much running you can do that'll be able to hold up with your body. And yet, after a while, you're going to crash trying to fight that.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem. Ten Hag has this season. We're in what? How many competitions are we in right now?
4. We're in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup,
4.
Champions League, Premier League.
I think he cannot be stubborn this year with the squad that we have, especially, we're going up against Crystal Palace next in the Carabao Cup. You got to rotate. You got to bring in the kids. You got to bring some young ones on. You have to, because at the rate we're going, bodies are dropping. We're going to go straight into the ground until Christmas, and that is not good.
Yeah, it's true. I want to go to Neil before wrapping this up. Greg, go on. Say what you're going to say, then I'll go to Neil.
Okay. Mainly, I think also we also have to look at another striker in January. I honestly believe that we need more depth in that position. like a decent number 9. I don't even know if it's probably say like a Ollie Watkins or even look at Ivan Toney when he comes back. Someone along those lines to kind of give this team a little bit more depth in the front line. Because as much as I like the chemistry being built with Rashford and Højlund, someone who might be a bit more seasoned in the league could be more of an advantage for us.
Someone who's hungry.
I can see it going two ways with that. As a couple weeks back when the transfer window was still open, there was a little bit of rumbling of a kid at Santos, Leandro Marco, great young striker from what I've seen, Brazilian kid.
Man United are in pole position for him, if I'm correct.
And if you look at, we don't need it. I don't think we need something seasoned. I mean, we've seen it with City. Look, they went and got Julian Alvarez, and boom, just bang, just like that. We can. I think we're going to start seeing more dives into the South American and South Brazilian, Argentinian. I think we're going to see more dives into that transfer market.
It's a market we need to dive into more indeed.
I think the transfer network's obviously going to improve with Scouting Network. I want to get Neil's last thoughts, and then we're going to obviously be ending the show. So, Neil, I want to get your thoughts before wrapping up.
Okay. Just add on to
with the squad and the injuries.
Yeah. Squad and the injuries. Just stay on the squad and the injuries, and then we'll wrap it up. But when it comes to the current injuries, I mean, again, Gary O'Driscoll, he's come in. Let's see what he can do. I mean, again, I wouldn't just put the blame on the fitness coaches. Just remember, and I'm not giving them an excuse at all, we probably have the worst facilities in the league when it comes to even recovery. Like, I'm pretty sure when Cristiano was at the club, he said this, that the facilities are terrible. We don't have the top of the line equipment as to other teams like Man City and Real Madrid's. Like, we fall behind when it comes to state of the art equipment. So it could also be down to resources, that we don't currently have, and we haven't caught up with times. I mean, look at Old Trafford. so can you just imagine how
look at our owners
room looks?
Sure.
Like, I won't be surprised if they're using wooden crutches still. Like, we don't know what goes at Carrington and stuff. So aside from that, now it's a very, very good time considering the long list of injuries we have. Like Chase said, bring on the kids. You know why? Because young minds are more coachable than older minds. Older stubborn, and they build up their own ego that, oh yes, I am who I am, and who's he to tell me what I'm doing? That attitude needs to go, and Ten Hag needs to make an example of some of these players and just say, look, humble yourself, bring on someone with legs, let me mold their minds into playing as a team rather than playing as individuals. And I think throwing on kids against Palace will be the perfect answer. And just to touch on Chase's point about the South American strikers and stuff. Listen, there's one right now, Mateo Mejia. He's 21 years old. He's Colombian. I think he's 21 or he's 20. I do think he should get a run against Palace. Honestly.
In our youth system, the Spanish kid.
Sorry?
The Spanish kid.
He's not Spanish. He's Colombian.
I thought he was Spanish for some reason.
He's Colombian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Apparently there was a new chief.
Yeah.
He scored on the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
In the 4-2 loss to Arsenal.
Yeah, and he's at the age now where we can use him as a rotation player. He's 21,
I still think Joe Hugel is slightly ahead of him. I think Joe Hugel showed in pre-season that Eric Ten Hag used him and he played up that holding role and laying off role really well. So I think Joe may be slightly ahead of him, but you never know. You never know.
If you look...
Well, one of those kids I really like, Eric Aronson.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Isaac. Yeah, everyone loves Aaron. Everyone loves Isaac.
Oh mate, I'm waiting for Shea Lacey.
Want a
that's
penalty?
what-
Want a penalty?
I'm waiting for
Want a
the
penalty?
next Scottish player to come through, guys, and it's going to win the
Oh.
Ballon d'Or.
And on that note, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the Magnificent 24/7 Reds. We will be back on with regular more content starting tomorrow. Where if you tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. live UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern, we will be hosting a recorded space on Twitter to preview the Palace game for an hour. So please tune in. We will drop it on Twitter in the morning, so it will be there available to you.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you. You will have your regular 24/7 hosts,
Yeah.
Chase, Neil, Greg, Devon,
Yeah.
Shake, Faye. We'll have the usual people on. So please do tune in and listen to our thoughts and predictions for the Crystal Palace game. So we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you. Until then, everyone, good night, and I wish you well. Take care.
You can be loose, set me free.